First story. I told my daughter that no one loves her and that she deserved my neglect because I had to raise her half-siblings and take care of my new husband, whom she never accepted as her father. I said she had enough time with me and that it was time to be less clingy. It's been 2 years since she left my house and never talked to me, so she really has cut ties with me. I really regret how I treated her. I 40F had my first daughter, Claire 20F, when I was pretty young. Her father was abusive and never wanted anything to do with us after I left him. I raised Claire alone for the first 6 years of her life. It was hard, but we were close, and I truly believed I was doing the best I could with what I had. There were a few years where it was just the two of us, and I tried to give her a safe, stable home after all the chaos with her dad. When Claire was 11, I met my now husband, Paul. We got married a year later, and not long after that, I got pregnant with our first child together. Over the next several years, we had 3 more children: Noah 7, Lily and Lucas 5, and Emma 3. That's when things started to shift between Claire and me. She started pulling away around the time Noah was born. I remember her being visibly upset when we came home from the hospital, and I thought it was just the normal adjustment of becoming an older sibling. But it didn't get better. She complained constantly about how she felt like she was being pushed aside, that I didn't have time for her anymore, and that everything revolved around the baby. To be honest, in the beginning, she wasn't entirely wrong. Noah had some health issues early on, nothing critical, but enough to demand almost all of my time and attention. Paul was working full-time, and I was overwhelmed managing a newborn with complications and a preteen who still needed emotional support. I figured Claire was old enough to understand that sometimes her needs wouldn't come first. I tried to explain that this was just temporary and that once Noah got healthier, we'd find more balance again. I thought we had. I started planning days for just the two of us and tried to include her in helping with the baby so she felt important, but she always resisted. She told me once that she felt like she didn't belong in our new family because she was the only one who didn't share a dad. That stung, and I tried to reassure her. I told her Paul was trying, that he wanted to be a father figure to her. Claire never accepted that. She was cold towards Paul and rejected every attempt he made to build a relationship. We tried family therapy when Claire was 14. She refused to speak much during sessions. She either sat in silence or gave short, sarcastic answers. At home, she started spending more time in her room, avoiding dinners, and shutting us all out. I thought it was just normal teenage behavior made worse by the transition in the family. And again, I figured she'd grow out of it. But it only got worse when the twins were born. Claire once told me in a really emotional argument that she felt like I had replaced her. That her opinions didn't matter anymore. That she was just expected to help out or stay out of the way. I was hurt by that. I told her she had 6 years with me all to herself, more than her siblings would ever have. That she was being jealous, and it wasn't fair to blame babies for needing more attention. I admit now that I probably said that too harshly, but I was sleep-deprived and stressed and didn't know how else to get through to her. When Emma came along, Claire barely acknowledged her. She had just turned 17 at that point, and the distance between us had grown into a full chasm. She stopped doing family activities altogether, refused to take pictures with us, and wouldn't even refer to Paul as her stepdad anymore. She started spending more time at friends' houses and once stayed gone an entire weekend without telling me where she was. That incident caused a huge blow-up. I told her she was acting disrespectfully and endangering herself. She yelled back that she didn't care anymore because no one at home noticed when she was gone anyway. Things really deteriorated after that. We fought more often. Claire would say things like, "You only care about the babies," or "You don't even see me anymore." I kept trying to tell her that I was doing my best, but she didn't want to hear it. I asked her once, flat out, "What do you want me to do? You act like I can just stop being a mother to the others." She just shook her head and said, "It's not about that. It's about how you dropped me the second you had someone new." I genuinely didn't understand what she expected from me. I've always made sure she had what she needed. I went to her school plays, made time for her events, and helped with her college applications. I was the one who cheered the loudest when she got her scholarship. But emotionally, it was like she had checked out years ago, and I didn't know how to reach her anymore. Claire left for college 2 years ago. She had a full scholarship and moved 3 states away. At first, I thought things might improve with space. I texted her regularly, sent care packages, tried to call her at least once a week. At first, she'd reply with one-word answers. Eventually, the replies stopped altogether. I didn't want to push. I figured she needed space, and maybe college life was just busy. But when the holidays came, and she didn't come home, even after I offered to pay for the flight, I knew something was wrong. She sent a text saying she had other plans. That was it. Paul told me to leave her alone, that she'd come back around. That she was just being dramatic, and would realize she missed her family. But that never happened. After her freshman year, I stopped hearing from her completely. She blocked me on social media. She didn't respond to my texts. I thought maybe she'd just gotten a new number. But when I tried contacting her through one of her old friends, I was told that Claire had cut off all contact because it was too toxic to keep trying. That phrase hit me hard. Toxic. I didn't scream at her. I didn't hit her. And I didn't abuse her. I just had more kids. I built a life. I didn't think I was doing anything cruel. But clearly, she saw it that way. I've since learned she even blocked Paul and the kids too on everything. I can't lie. It hurts that she doesn't even ask about her siblings. Noah still asks about her sometimes. Lily once cried when she found out Claire wasn't coming home for Christmas. I told them she was busy, but now I'm starting to think she's not just busy, she's gone. I spent years telling myself Claire was just going through a phase, that she'd come back when she matured, that she'd understand when she had her own kids how hard it was to be a parent. But now it's been 2 full years with no visits, no calls, and no contact. I tried to tell myself that she'd eventually reach out. Every time I saw her name pop up on old Facebook memories or found something of hers around the house, I thought, she'll come around eventually. But she hasn't. Not once. I even tried sending her a letter last year. Not a long one, just a short handwritten note saying I loved her and that we missed her. I included a photo of her siblings because they wanted her to see their Halloween costumes. It came back unopened. Return to sender. That's when it finally sank in that she'd made a deliberate choice to be done with us. At first, I was angry. I told Paul that Claire was being cruel, that she was punishing me for having a family. I vented that she was selfish. How could she just erase me like that after everything I did for her? I raised her alone when no one else wanted to. I stayed up nights working 2 jobs. I never abandoned her. So why did she abandon me? Paul's take has always been that I gave her too much grace growing up. He says I let her dictate too much, that she never learned gratitude. When we talk about her, he calls her ungrateful and says I'm wasting energy worrying about someone who doesn't care. Maybe he's right in some ways. But when I lie awake at night, I keep replaying the things she said as a teenager, stuff I brushed off as dramatics at the time. Like when she was 15 and told me, "You only talk to me when you need something." I thought she was exaggerating because I'd asked her to watch Noah for an hour so I could take a nap. Or when she was 16 and refused to go on a family trip because she said she didn't want to play nanny for the week. I thought she was just being lazy. But maybe she really was exhausted emotionally, not physically. One thing that sticks with me is a night when she was around 17. Paul and I had an argument about bills after the twins were born, and I guess we didn't realize she overheard. Later, she came into the kitchen and said, "You always act like everything is fine, but no one in this house is happy." I told her she was being disrespectful and told her to stop eavesdropping. But now I wonder if she wasn't being nosy, just observant. Looking back, I think I mistook her silence for stability. Whenever she got quiet or withdrawn, I assumed she was okay, that she was adjusting. I didn't realize it was her shutting down. There were signs I ignored. She used to talk about feeling like an outsider in her own home. Once, when she was maybe 14, she told me, "It's like you all have your own little club, and I don't have the password." I remember laughing, saying she was being dramatic, that families don't have clubs. But I get it now. She was saying she felt excluded, and I brushed it off. There were moments when she genuinely tried. She made a cake for Noah's birthday one year, and Paul scolded her because she accidentally mixed up the frosting colors. She stormed off crying. Instead of checking on her, I told Paul not to worry about it, and told her later she was overreacting. Things like that probably chipped away at her. I used to think love meant providing stability, keeping food on the table, making sure everyone had what they needed. But I think what she needed wasn't just that. She needed to feel like she still mattered to me, even after my world expanded. And I didn't make enough room for her in it. Now I'm stuck wondering if I even have the right to try anymore. If she's happy without us, I don't want to ruin that. But I also can't stop thinking about her. Every milestone that happens with a younger kid's first day of school, birthdays, even little moments like family movie nights, I always notice her absence. There's this empty space that nobody talks about. Noah once asked me if Claire was mad at him. I didn't know what to say. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that his sister doesn't want to come home, and it's not his fault? I told him she's just busy. But he looked at me and said, "She must be really busy, Mum. She missed my birthday again." That broke me a little. I talked to a family therapist again, recently alone this time. She asked me to describe how Claire might have experienced her childhood from her own point of view. I honestly couldn't do it. I realized I've spent her whole life defending my perspective instead of trying to see hers. When I look back, I can admit I said some harsh things I shouldn't have. When she was 15 and wouldn't join us for family dinner, I told her, "You're the reason no one likes being around you." I don't even know why I said that. I was angry and overwhelmed. But if she remembered it, and I'm sure she did, then maybe that's the moment she stopped believing I cared. I keep wondering if there was something I could have done differently, like maybe taking her away for a weekend. Just her and me, even once a year. I told myself there wasn't time. But maybe I didn't make time. Now, I don't know how to fix something when the other person won't even talk to you. I don't even know if she'd ever want to hear from me again. She's an adult now. Maybe she really has moved on. But then, the guilt hits again. Because if she really did feel unloved and pushed aside, then I'm the one who made her feel that way. Not Paul. Not her siblings, me. And that's something I have to live with. Paul says to focus on the family that's still here. He doesn't like when I bring up Claire anymore. He thinks she made her choice. But it doesn't feel that simple. Every time the little ones make something at school, they still make extra drawings for her. I keep a small box in my dresser with them inside, crayon letters that say, "We love you, Claire." She'll probably never see them, but I can't throw them away. Sometimes I dream that she just walks through the door again like nothing happened. She sits on the couch, the kids swarm her, and we talk like a normal family. I wake up, and it hits me all over again that it's not real. It's been 2 years since I last heard her voice. She's not blocked because she's busy or because she needs space. She blocked me because she doesn't want me in her life. I think, deep down, I knew that the moment that letter came back unopened. I don't know if there's any fixing this now. Maybe I should stop trying. Maybe I should accept that this is what happens when someone gets tired of being second place for too long. Still, it's hard not to ask myself, was I really that bad of a mother? Or is she just refusing to see that I did the best I could under the circumstances? I don't know. I really don't. AITA. Comments. Comment 1. YTA. And I say this as someone who went NC with my own mom, for reasons almost identical to your story. Let me translate what happened here, because I've lived it. Claire didn't leave because you had more kids. She left because every time she told you she was drowning, you handed her a towel and told her to go dry off quietly. You don't get points for trying your best when your actual actions made your kid feel invisible for years. You say you raised her alone, yeah, and then threw her into the background the moment you had someone to share your life with. And then this line. I told her it was her fault nobody wanted to spend time with her. Seriously? Do you hear how cruel that is coming from a parent? That's not just being overwhelmed. That's verbal and emotional neglect. You undermined her reality every time she spoke up. Of course she cut you off. She finally realized she was better off choosing herself. And your husband? Sounds like he never liked her to begin with. I guarantee she felt that. She probably felt like she was intruding in his family, and you didn't stand up for her. You tried to glue her into a puzzle she clearly never fit into and got mad when she popped off the board. You lost your daughter, not because she's too sensitive, but because you treated her feelings like a burden. That's not something most kids ever forget. Comment 2. I'm going to say nah, but hear me out. I think you're a mom who truly thought you were doing what you needed to survive. And in the process, you couldn't see what Claire was actually asking for. She wasn't asking you to neglect your other kids. She was asking you to fight for her. Emotionally. Defensively. Consistently. A lot of people don't realize that the firstborn, especially in blended families, often becomes the emotional scapegoat. You said you took her to therapy, and you tried one-on-one time, and that's good. But every time she expressed a complex emotion, jealousy, resentment, loneliness, your reaction was to shut it down or moralize it. You saw her as ungrateful, and that's why she gave up on talking to you. I don't think you're evil or abusive, but you were emotionally unavailable to her, and I don't think your husband helped. His reaction to her behavior, telling you to forget her, calling her dramatic, is honestly chilling. It feels like he never saw her as part of the family. You might not have seen it because you were too close to the day-to-day, but that lack of advocacy from you probably cut deep. You clearly love her. But love that isn't felt by the other person isn't worth much. She needed safety, not logistics. Maybe one day she'll come back. but only if you can own that she was hurt, even if you didn't mean to do the hurting. Comment 3. YTA. And honestly, you sound like the kind of mum who mistakes "I kept you alive" for "I was there for you." You talk about doing your best, but your best seems to have meant survival mode only. Food, clothes, school, sure. But the second Claire needed emotional support, you labeled it jealousy or bratness. She told you exactly what was wrong for years, and you still don't get it. You didn't just push her aside, you taught her that her feelings made her difficult to love. The message you sent, even if you didn't mean to, was, "If you need more than I can give, you're the problem." That sticks with a kid forever. Also, Paul sounds like a massive factor here. He never bonded with her, and you didn't protect her from that coldness. You let him call her ungrateful and disrespectful instead of helping him understand what was really going on. She grew up in a house where she was constantly reminded she wasn't part of the real family. I get that you were tired and stretched thin, but parenting doesn't end when the next baby is born. Claire didn't pull away, she was pushed out. And then you blamed her for walking away. You're still doing it now by calling her decision cruel. You lost her because you made her feel like a burden. She didn't block you out of spite. She blocked you to survive. Update. First off, I want to thank everyone who commented, even the harsh ones. I read a lot of what you said over and over. Some of it hurt like hell. But it also made me see that the way I've been framing this story in my head wasn't the full picture. A few people said I was defending myself instead of actually listening. That was true. I was still trying to be right instead of trying to understand. After the post, I broke down one night after the kids were asleep. Not because people were mean to me online, but because I finally let myself sit in the idea that Claire really might never come back, and that if she didn't, it wasn't just her decision. It was a reaction to years of feeling erased. I decided to write her one last time. No packages, no photos, no attempts to reel her back in. Just a message. I found an old college email and sent this. "You don't owe me a relationship, but I owe you an apology. You were right. I didn't see you. I didn't listen. I didn't fight for you the way I should have. I blamed you for feelings you had every right to feel. I thought being a good mum meant keeping everything running. But I didn't make you feel loved, and I'm sorry. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here. If not, I'll still be here anyway." I wasn't expecting a reply. I told myself it would probably go ignored like everything else. But 2 days later, she wrote back. It wasn't long. About 6 paragraphs. Calm, not angry. But it was the hardest thing I've ever read. She said she had nothing left to say that hadn't already been ignored. For years, she gave me chances to notice how isolated she felt. And every time, I treated it like it was her fault for not adjusting. She said it wasn't just about the younger kids. It was about me constantly pushing her emotions away like they were inconvenient. She said she wasn't reaching out because there's nothing left to rebuild that was ever stable to begin with. What really gutted me was this. She said she used to sit on the stairs at night, listening to Paul talk about her to me, how she was moody, too much, and never satisfied, and she could hear me agreeing. She said she realized at 15 that the only way to keep her head above water was to stop caring if we liked her at all. She ended it by saying she hoped I treated Emma differently. After I read that, I didn't speak to Paul for 2 days. I couldn't. Every single thing I'd been brushing off, the way he referred to Claire as that girl, the way he'd roll his eyes when she walked away from a conversation, clicked. Not once did he ever ask how she was doing when she left. Not once did he suggest writing to her, or even acknowledge that her absence affected the kids. I tried talking to him again the 3rd night. I read him parts of Claire's email. He barely reacted. Just shrugged and said, "She's still dramatic. Nothing's changed." That's when I snapped. I told him he never even tried to be her stepfather. That he just waited for her to disappear so he could play happy family with his real kids. I brought up how he scolded her for the frosting colors on Noah's birthday cake, how he made jokes about her attitude, and how he made her feel like a guest in her own house. He looked at me and said, "Well, she was never mine to begin with. I was never going to come before her real dad in her eyes." I just stood there. No yelling after that. No dramatic moment. Just stood there while something in my brain finally broke open. He didn't resent Claire because she was disrespectful, he resented her because she existed before him. And I let him carry that resentment unchecked for almost a decade. The next day, I got a message from one of Claire's old friends from high school. Said she wasn't trying to start drama, but that Claire used to cry at her house about being the maid with no room at the table. She told me Claire felt like we just added more kids every time she asked for more of me, as if to say, look at all the people who don't complain, what's wrong with you. She told me Claire once stayed at her house for a whole weekend when she was 16 because she had a panic attack after Paul told her to stop acting like a jealous ex-wife. I didn't even know about that. I thanked her and sat in the silence for about an hour after. That was the moment it clicked for me how much of Claire's pain happened in front of me, and how skilled I had become at explaining it away. After all this, I started therapy. I told the therapist everything, including what I'd said in the Reddit post. She didn't let me dodge. She asked hard questions. One of the first was, why do you think you kept saying you did your best when it clearly wasn't enough for the person it mattered most to? That one stuck with me. I'm going to keep going. I don't expect a big redemption arc. I don't think Claire will forgive me or even talk to me again. But I can't keep doing this version of motherhood, where I pretend every fracture is just growing pains. Paul and I aren't separated, but something in our marriage feels broken now. I don't think I can look at him the same way, knowing how coldly he talks about the child I brought into this world. I don't know what happens next. I don't plan on posting another update. But if Claire ever does come back, it's not going to be because I wore her down. It'll be because she sees something in me that wasn't there before. And that means I have to change it for real. Not perform it. Not post about it. Actually do it. Thanks to everyone who told me the truth, even when it was hard to hear. I don't know if I deserved it, but I needed it. Comments. Comment 1. Damn. I don't usually say this, but I read your original post and thought, yep, another mom who turned her kid into emotional roadkill. But this update, it actually hit me. I went no contact with my dad 9 years ago. He remarried and had 2 more kids, and I went from being the center of his world to his moody daughter who needs to grow up. Sound familiar? I told him I felt unwanted, and he told me I was being dramatic. That word? Dramatic? It's poison. And your husband weaponized it too. Claire didn't run away from you. She escaped Paul. I don't know if you'll ever get her back. Honestly, she sounds like she's found peace without you. But this is the first post from a parent in this sub, where I don't think the remorse is performative. If you keep going to therapy, keep doing the work for you, and not for redemption. Maybe one day she'll see that. Maybe she won't. But either way, you're not spinning in circles anymore, you're finally moving. Paul? F that guy. Sorry. But he never saw her as his family. And the fact that you didn't see it for 10 years is a tragedy. Comment 2. I'll say something that hasn't been said enough. This isn't just a parenting failure, it's a marriage failure. Paul wasn't neutral. He was actively harmful. And your complicity made it worse. Think about it, how many times did he criticize Claire or dismiss her pain? And you stood there or even agreed. That's not just passive parenting. That's signaling to your kid. He comes first. You can't unring that bell. But you can decide what kind of mother you're going to be for your other children from now on. And honestly, you need to decide what kind of partner you want to be, too. Because Paul sounds like someone who only values harmony when it's convenient for him. Your update shows growth, and that's commendable. But if you're still sharing a home with a man who is comfortable erasing your daughter, and still can't show empathy even now, you're going to keep bleeding emotionally. You lost Claire once by prioritizing Paul. If you keep him in the center, you risk losing yourself next. Second story. My son's girlfriend claimed she is pregnant with his baby. But my son insists he isn't the father, and said that he's gay. However, my wife demands that he take responsibility. The girl's parents are refusing to take a paternity test. Later, my wife tried to stop my son from leaving, and he called her a SLT. Now both my son and his ex have run away. Our son just turned 16, had a girlfriend, she's 16, almost 17. But they broke up about a month ago. About 3 weeks ago, we were informed by her parents that she is pregnant. She is slightly showing. The dates line up with my son's relationship. My wife and I went into full panic mode. We waited a couple of days before telling our son, who didn't know. He immediately said, "It's not mine, I never fed her." I didn't believe him, as I know he is active. He did the sensible thing and asked me for protection. However, he kept on saying they never did it. He said he cheated on her. I had a heart-to-heart with him, and he is an absolute SHT head, but I began to believe him. He said he always raps, and he has asked for restocks. My wife, on the other hand, still didn't believe him. Both families met. My wife started the conversation just accepting that our son is the father, and was trying to figure out a solution, funding, etc. My son spoke up, saying it's not his baby, as they never had sex. He was genuinely angry. Then he made a comment that I'm going to rephrase. Apparently they only ever did a certain act which can't result in a baby. And it was unsatisfactory, so he never went any further with her. An absolute SHT head, and we raged at him over it. His ex-girlfriend admits they rarely did it, but explained the event, the when and where, and I will say it was believable too. I know he's a complete liar. I know he is an absolute dog, but I believe him still. My wife, however, is angry with me for playing into his nonsense. She said I'm part of the boy culture. She said children born to teen parents are more likely to be teen parents, and we were both 17 when my wife got pregnant. She said I'm worsening the situation by not living in reality, and she is left to figure out what to do on her own. To her point, I am hands-off on further meetings with the other family. I don't believe we should have those discussions until it's proven he's the dad. AITA. Also, this is really ranty. I'm sorry, but I needed to let off some steam. Just to add, her parents don't want to do a paternity test until after the child is born. They said it could harm the baby, but apparently it's harmless, so I don't know. So we cannot get a test done before then. Courts can't order one till birth. Another addition. I'm in the UK. Comments. About getting a paternity test. OP. When I brought up a paternity test, the other family got offended. They thought I was implying something. The family said they'll do a paternity test when the child is born. They don't trust doing a paternity test prior to birth for safety reasons. I'm no medical professional, but apparently it's safe. About getting a non-invasive prenatal paternity test. OP. You cannot get a court order to get a paternity test for an unborn child here anyway. A solicitor won't be able to do anything until the baby is born. I have a great relationship with my boy. Love him to bits. About his son's ex's parents. OP. No idea about their vax stance. But they are uber religious, pro-life, etc. They look down on us constantly. I'd say they hated that their daughter was with such a boy. About his son's history of lying. OP. Oh, I've had many crosswords. But from what he describes, he's saying he's playing safe. Her parents don't want to do a paternity test until the baby is born for safety concerns. My wife is fine with that. Apparently, it's not unsafe, though. I feel I know when he lies, given he does it so often. I often see him lying to his mother, and I can tell it's a lie, and he'll admit that it is a lie. If he isn't lying, he deserves someone in his corner. About what sexual acts the son did with his ex-girlfriend, according to him. OP. From what he describes, his lower member was nowhere near her area. It feels really strange talking about their stuff. I've asked. They said they will not allow any risk. I said it wasn't a risk. They said no. It wasn't anal. It was oral only, apparently. It happened twice. But he said she wasn't good, so he didn't even finish. And I'm going to bang my head against a wall after typing that. About what advice OP gives to his son, and what he thinks of his actions. OP thanks. He's been warned by me not to even talk to her in school. Avoid her completely. He said gladly. My worry is more with what my wife will pay for or whatever. He is an absolute odd to her. I've even stated how much of a SHT head he is on this post. About his wife possibly sending money to her son's ex-girlfriend, and what she would do in case of his son not being the father. OP. We both have a separate account and then a joint one. I've asked her those questions. She said he's lying. I said if he isn't, and she said, but he is. I said, let's say there's a 99% chance he's lying. If that 1% happens, how will she mend it with him? She said I'm being naive. And it's that absolute belief that he is lying that is really irritating. Like, I believe him, but I'm not certain. He could be lying, but I don't think he is. She can't sign his name to a birth cert, thankfully. But I did say if it turns out he isn't the father, and she does anything that will impact him, she will be left all alone. We've dated since we were 15, and it's the first time I've lost a lot of respect for her. I do still love her, though. If he's not the dad, they are done. There is no way back. Their relationship is already so effed. It's very sad. She's so sure because she knows our son. A betting man would bet on him lying. She thinks I'm being totally naive. About his son getting married to the ex-girlfriend in case he is the father, and the fact that OP got his wife pregnant when they were teens. OP. They won't be getting married. Rest assured. Well, we got married because we were kind of forced. Luckily for me, I love my wife. She is my best friend despite current events. Normally with issues we've always been on the same page. But this has been different. Saying that, I also know we were lucky in that we actually liked each other. Many of those types of marriages aren't good. So I wouldn't want my son pushed into anything like that. But I would expect him to be there for his child as I was for him. I would expect him to wise up sharply. Like, the amount of growing I had to do quickly was insane. Etc. About his and his wife's treatment of their son. OP. I could understand if she said, look, he's a SHT head. I think he's lying, and the baby is his. What I cannot understand is that she can't even consider the possibility that he's telling the truth or a gray area in between, as you mentioned. Like, I believe he's telling the truth. But I'll freely admit if I were a betting man, I'd probably be safer betting that he's lying. Believe it, by all means. But let's not rush into anything without proof. I only started calling him a SHT head about a year ago, when he was being a SHT head. But in my defense, that's just the way we talk. Usually when I call him, he'll start laughing or whatever. And TBF, F is pretty common here. If the son knows OP cares about him. OP, he knows. We do actually have a good relationship. He probably overshares a bit too much, if anything. I think it's the way you say it, SHT head, too. And it's just our way of talking. I'm sure the experts would disagree with it. But yeah. If the son did drugs. OP, 6 months ago, he was hanging out with friends of friends, and he said they were passing around something drugs. He swore down he didn't smoke it. I did believe him because why would he say it otherwise? His mother did not. She drug tested him. Apparently, he was drug-free. One thing that we are lucky about is that he's so competitive at football that he doesn't involve himself in underage drinking, smoking, etc. About what the son said to the ex-parents. OP. Because it's weird to say what he actually said, given he's my son. If you want the actual quote. She only ever sucked him. And he said she was so teethy that he made her stop. It was like rubbing his DCK along sandpaper. Is that better for you? Update. I didn't think I'd be coming back so soon. And this is probably more suited to an advice sub rather than an sub. Cursing, sexual references, etc. Short story. Text message that backs up her story. Another meeting. Went worse than the first. He's not coming home. The mother-son relationship is F-ed. And the husband-wife relationship is F-ed. His ex has text messages to a friend around the time in which she discussed my son's large with a mark organ and the type of sex they had. The messages align with what she says and go beyond the oral that he had said. My wife gloated. But anyway. My wife invited them over without my knowledge. It was carnage. Our son and I were sitting on one side of the table. He told his mom that she should sit on the other side. And he wouldn't start a conversation until she moved over. She eventually did. Our son was very quiet at the beginning. He admitted he has the mark, and it is large, something I never needed to know. But he maintained it was just oral. He started winking at his ex's mother. When she asked why he was winking at her, he said, "Your husband is gayer than Philip Schofield, so I'm sure you'd like a go on my large." He turns to his ex's dad and says, "Philip, his name is not Philip. It's not for you," followed by a gay slur. I was speechless at it all. My wife told my son to stop denying it. My wife started planning again. I said I'd still want DNA, preferably now, but immediately at birth. They stuck to birth. My son spoke up. He said that this is not how this is going to work. He told them that they get the test done now, or he will refuse to get tested until he's finished college, so 6 years time approx. He said courts won't expect maintenance from a kid. And in that time, the SLT who gave birth to him, my wife, will have spent so much money and will love a kid that is unrelated to her. He said hopefully that spirals the SLT into a very dark place. They said they'd just court order it. He said a court cannot force him. Some autonomy thing. He seemed confident, and it turns out he's right. He was walking out, and his mother grabbed his arm to come back in. He said, "Get your dirty hand off me, USLT." He said he'd fight back if she didn't let go. I told her to let him go. He said he was staying at a friend's. He's been staying there a bit. I went out and said I'd drive him. He agreed. In the car journey, he said he knows I don't believe him anymore, but he didn't F her. He said school is horrible, social media is horrible, and your wife, he didn't call her mum, is a BTCH. I said you can't speak about your mum like that. He said she's a woman that gave birth to him and minded him. That's all. He said she doesn't care how he is coping. She's never even asked. When we got to his friends, he cried a bit. He said it's nothing to do with me, but he won't be home much anymore. He said hopefully I'd still hang out with him. I know his friend's father from the pub. He started talking to me. I was going to give him money because my son is over there a lot, but he refused. He said my son told him everything. He's a counselor. He said girls can exaggerate to friends. Boys can lie. He said he has known my son since he was tiny, and he believes him. He also said he might have more information than I do. No idea. He warned that we are going to lose him if we are not careful. I went home. I told my wife if she so much as says one word to me or our son about the baby without a test being done, we are over. If she doesn't apologize to our son in the next few days and beg him for forgiveness, we are done. I, sadly, do mean it. It wasn't heat of the moment. By her reaction, I think we will separate for now. I do love her childhood sweethearts, but my son is my son. It is not a matter of believing him. I probably don't. It's a matter of being there for him. He was always at SHT head, but his behavior is erratic and almost asking for help. It's worrying how quickly he has changed. He is the priority for me right now. Counseling and plenty of it. Comments. About his son's words and the need for being coddled. OP. How he is speaking to everyone is wild and is unacceptable. Philip Schofield, and the slur was an awful thing to say. But as much of a SHT head as he was, this is very out of character for him. Maybe it's coddling him, but I think he's at his wit's end. A cry for help. It was shocking to see. Counseling and plenty of it. His friend's father is a counselor therapist. He said he needs a safe home and basically to be coddled. He needs to be told it's not right, but not in an angry way. I did tell him it's not right. He said be strict on him, and it'll be a dark watch or something to that effect. About his son's behavior towards women and potential red flags for future relationships. OP. Because, for one, I don't think he acts that way to his friend or his family. When we were alone in the car, he was normal with me. He was crying and upset, but he didn't have the quirkiness he had in the meeting. His wife died, but he has 2 daughters. I asked him what he's like, and he said he's mostly in his room upset. He said when he comes out of his room, he'll ask what chores he'll do. I asked about his daughters. He said they get along fine. He and his friend walked his youngest daughter to school a couple of times, and he asked her spellings along the way, apparently. Some comments were given a hard time about OP, and one of the reasons for that is because he thinks his wife should apologize to their son. And he explained why. OP, I don't trust him, and he's still fine to me. I do think it's bad of her to fully say you are a liar. It's your kid, take responsibility. To be so sure, she's not even talking about DNA. I also think some of her words were cutting. Disgrace, disappointment, etc. I think the biggest one, and he said it himself, is at no point did she ask how he was, how's the bullying at school, etc. And I think she should appreciate that he's already getting so much SHT, he doesn't need to be called a disappointment, etc. And have the coldness at home. I think an apology is needed from her. I think he, at some point, will need to do a lot more than just apologize to her. But at the end of the day, he's broken and fragile. It was scary watching his behavior. A totally different boy from a month ago. I think he needs to know people are in his corner. He is a real therapist, but I agree there's a conflict of interest. I said we all need therapy. He said he'd do it with me, but not with my wife. About why he's taking it easy on his son compared to his wife. OP. I would imagine he's gone so far that what he will need to do will be discussed between him and a counselor that he will get. I don't think I'm capable of suggesting what that may be. I really don't. This isn't bunking off school, etc. I actually think her behavior is disgusting. Not as disgusting, but disgusting nonetheless. Let's take it to the extreme. Let's say he's had self-harming thoughts. And I don't think it's a total stretch given how he seems and his counselor's comments. He's having a rough time in school. He's not the dad I think he is. His mother calls him a disgrace, disgusting, etc. Before he ever calls her ASLT. He believes DNA now would sort it all out. But his mother won't even push for it because he's guilty. He then sits down and watches a group of people discuss his manhood. And despite all this, she hasn't asked him once if he's okay. Not even out of courtesy. And that's the worst case scenario. I get that. I cannot get on board at all with her behavior or his. But there is one who needs me more right now. My wife has friends at work. Friends outside work. She has this new family she's going to be a grandmother for. He has 2 friends. That's it, in his head. That's all. Update. My wife and I separated, but we are on good terms. I think she understands why I moved out, but we still want to deal with the situation differently. I'm living in a flat with my son. He seems happier. The good news. His ex's parents last Thursday agreed to do a paternity test. That is booked for this Wednesday. I don't know what brought on this sudden change. I told my son they had agreed. He asked to meet his ex and her parents to apologize. He thanked and apologized to his ex's parents for what he said. They were very good to accept the apology, although I do think he deserved an apology too. He said to his ex that he's not starting anything, but that they both know it's not his. She still insisted it's his. I asked if maybe he wanted to apologize to his mother, or at least have a discussion with her. He said he won't apologize to her, and he won't forgive her even if she apologizes to him. He said he hates her and always will. That's still an utter mess. He won't speak to her. If she visits our flat, he leaves. Saturday night, I told him I won't be angry if he has been lying. But if he is, I'd prefer him to be honest rather than find out by the test. He again said it's not his. Quickly after that he asked me to promise I wouldn't get mad if he told the truth. He said he doesn't want labels, but the reason it went no further with his ex is because he can't keep up with girls, and he uses the condoms but not with girls. I couldn't respond as he went to bed. I told him Sunday morning I'm fine with him whatever he is. Admittedly, it was a surprise. I did ask about the Philip Schofield comment he made against his ex's dad, and he said nothing like that ever happened. He said it's a guy his own age. I didn't push it any more than that. He wants it kept quiet. So here I am, as I can't tell others. But it'd be a shock at this point if it's his. Comments. About the surprise of this new update. OP. It's a shock, to be honest. But the way the last 2 months or so have gone, it's not much of a big deal right now. I don't care if he's gay. I'm going to need a holiday after all this, though. About getting the son and his wife into therapy. OP counseling has a long waiting list. He is on the list. In the meantime, I've made him speak to this org I was told about. It's like a helpline, but it's manned by student psychologists and similar people. It's not therapy. It's just someone to speak to. He will still need counseling, and I think he'd probably welcome it. About how his wife lost him and his son in this situation. OP. I very much disagree and hate how my wife has dealt with this. But to me this separation is temporary. Even if it's not, she'll never lose me. I love her, and she has been my best friend. If the counselor knew his son is gay. OP. That's good thinking. But that comment was about how badly my son was coping with the situation. He told that man he wanted others to suffer in the way he was and stuff. As for our son, hopefully that can be mended. But I'm not so confident. About us ex-ed, and the need to reinforce that. OP. That's true. He has always asked for condoms. He did say he always uses them with the guy. And neither of them go with others. At some stage, I'll have the talk with him again. But that rest comes first. About the possibility of the ex-girlfriend's father flirting with or hitting his son. OP. The Philip Schofield comment worried me a little, but I doubt it. My son said no, he never was like that. He just said it to hurt and embarrass him, like they and his mom did during the meeting. If the son's relationship with his mother was always rocky. OP. They had a good relationship. A bit of a mama's boy. But he was always wild. She does still believe he's lying. She is still, from what I know, planning for her grandchild. She is unaware of the gay part. Not my thing to tell. If his wife knows their son is gay, and if she would be homophobic. OP. She wouldn't be homophobic. He said, I'm the only one he's told. I think she just broke his entire image of her. About being gay, not being an excuse for his behavior. OP. Being gay doesn't absolve his comments. Regardless of the result, he will still be getting counseling. Apologizing was a good step. I don't think he's a misogynist. In the same way, I don't think he's a homophobe. I think he said misogynistic and homophobic things to lash out. Absolutely wrong. If the DNA test shows that his son is the father. If it turns out to be his, he will have to step up and take responsibility. He will have to do a lot of bridge building. I'd be very annoyed that he lied. But I don't think I'd regret how I dealt with it. Update. AITA said, I broke their rules too many updates, so I'll post it here. The person I messaged to apologize to at AITA was very nice and kind. Spent the 800 quid on the test last Wednesday. He didn't seem nervous. He seemed happy. All went well. Thursday morning, I woke up. He wasn't there. He had texted me. He needed a break for a few days. His wife rang to say that his ex was gone. Same message. I texted and rang him over and over. Eventually, he video called me. His ex was there too. He said he lied about it all and that the test will probably show it's his. He told me where they are staying, and they apparently want to talk about it without adults getting involved. I was wrong. He lied. My wife was humble, given everything. Her parents and my wife think it might be a good thing to let them talk. They are staying in touch. I don't see the benefit in them on their own nuts, in my opinion. But I'm so mad, maybe it is for the best. I'm done. Also, I don't think I can respond here. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.